A beautiful day has greeted us at Wakefield Park for the 2015 Valvoline Wakefield 300 cars heading out there onto the racetrack, and a very warm welcome to Lockie Mansell, one of the highlights of the annual calendar here at Wakefield Park.
Getting ready for another season of the Australian Endurance Championship. Good to see a lot of familiar names returning, but some new faces and some new cars in the field as well.
Very much looking forward to this one. I just wonder, Lockie, if there's any chance that this could be as thrilling as the finale to last year's championship.
It'll be pretty hard to top the epic finish that we had to the Winton 300 last year, but we're not too far away now from a race start.
The popularity of the Valvoline Wakefield 300 continues to grow every year, and the 2015 edition is no exception. Those that made the 300 kilometre field include Wakefield 300 regular Daniel Flanagan. The former Aussie Racing Cars competitor currently drives an HSB Club Sport in the New South Wales production touring cars. This weekend will step into a Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 8 with Jason Hart.
Well, normally I'm driving a HSB Club Sport, which is about 500 kilos heavier. So this car here, it just feels like a go-kart compared to my own car. It's just so exciting, You're braking and the next minute you're accelerating and turning, and it just all happens so much faster in this car. It's really exhilarating. I've been very fortunate to drive this car this weekend. It's an Evo 8. We're running only about 15 pound to boost, and the car's quite comfortable doing fives at the moment. Four-wheel drive turbo, obviously, and just great fun to drive. So much grip. So this will be start number 8, and it's funny, Lachlan Mansell keeps saying to me, "You're one of the most capped drivers, Daniel." And I said to him, I said, "Can you use a different phrase? It makes me sound like a veteran. I'm only 35 this year, mate. I've still probably got another 20 in me." So so we started in 2008, and as the years tick by, we keep coming back.
Another to have made the cut is Linda Devlin, one of 3 female drivers in this year's race. The daughter of former Bathurst 12-hour class winner Barry Devlin, Linda will share driving duties in an ex-Mini Challenge Cooper S with family friend Henry Draper, himself a multiple class winner at the 12-hour.
So Henry is my honorary uncle, pretty much. He's known me since I was born, family friends, and he used to race with my dad. Dad used to race minis as well, so they used to work together, race together, and he gave me my chance when I was 17. I took out his Mini Target Tasmania car. It was only an 850 back then, and he let me have a spin at that, and I loved it, and he's let me run ever since. I'm a bit of a smoother driver than Henry, so he's used to the older minis to chuck it round and put it in its place, but I've actually given him advice for this weekend. It needs to be smooth, you need to drive it well, and but he always says go out, have fun, do your best, try and catch me in times, and every time I get that little bit closer, every time he messes the mark up a bit more. I just love the consistency of it. I think I'm a consistent driver, so it works well for me. I do the sprints as well, but the endurance, it's a bit more challenging. You need to be focused for a fair few hours. Strategy is always good. There's a lot can happen, and it's a good challenge.
Well, we're almost set. Cars out there, light breeze pushing it across the front straight, and we're nearly set to get out there on the warm-up lap. 300 Ks, 137 laps as we get the green flag, and away we go on the warm-up lap. How's this all going to play out?
Fairly warm conditions at Wakefield Park, so it'll be a real test of driver fitness and also mechanical endurance of the cars, which a lot of them are based on road cars. So mechanical sympathy is going to be important for the drivers to make sure they can get to the finish of this race. As we have a look at the grid, and it was Nick Cansian who picked up $500 for the pole position award, courtesy of Super Shock Racing suspension. He will start in position 1 on the grid.
Yes, but he is a Division 1 racer this weekend, which will mean that he'll have to come down pit lane twice at least, pushing through the field, which is absolutely packed out. These are the fastest 36 qualifiers. There'll be another race for those that didn't quite make the cut.
Yeah, same as last year. We'll have the B main for the slower cars and an equally large field of cars for that as well. As we have a chat to Nick Cansian, who put in a stunning performance in the top 10 shootout to take pole position.
Yeah, we did really well. Coming here this weekend, we didn't know how fast the car will go. We've got new tyres on, new Michelin slicks. They're worth it. You pay a lot for them, but they're worth it. Went out there in qualified third with a 104. we're pretty happy with that. Then we put the new Michelin slicks on, brand new for the top 10 shootout. Did one lap and did a 1:03 dead, which put us on pole. But there was a few Lotuses that are quicker. But all the pressure of me doing a good time. One of them had a little moment at turn 1, which put us in pole.
Have you ever been that quick around Wakefield?
No, well, David Radatz from MX5 Mania built the car, and he said this is the quickest MX5 in Australia.
He'll be one man to watch, but he will have to come down pit lane for 5 minutes more than most drivers. It might suit the Division 2 cars that only have to make one compulsory pit stop. We do have a great range of onboard cameras spread throughout the field. Check out those future buses as well, starting together. Mid-pack almost where they are, towards the back of the top 10. As we roll around to start the first round of the Australian Endurance Championship. Here we go.
Out of the last corner of the field, forming up in side-by-side double file formation, ready for the rolling start. It'll be up to the pole-sitting car to control the pace off the front row of the grid. As soon as the green flag waves, it'll be go time for the Valvoline Wakefield 300 for 2015, and the field is released and underway, and a massive field of 36 cars file down into turns 1 and 2 for lap 1 of 137.
Looks clean to start with. When you've got that long a journey ahead of you, there's no point throwing it away on the first couple of laps.
On board with Terry Nightingale, who's sharing the colder refrigeration as the MX5 with Rob Hay, the former podium finisher at the Wakefield 300. They didn't qualify as well as they liked after some gearbox problems, so Nightingale will be on the charge in these opening few laps.
Oh, and very close to the Devlin and Draper Mini in the mid part of the first lap. Nightingale will just be happy to be out there after making only the B main at the final round at the Winton 300. A couple of unusual lines and a chance to pick up 1 or 2 early spots with the field being so packed up.
You can see just how much congestion there is in the mid-pack, and it's really about just trying to find your own space on the track. Make sure you don't get caught up in any unnecessary contact or drama in these opening few laps as the car of Grant and Ian Sharon, the BMW 135i, gets a little bit sideways out of turn number 10. Cansian leads, Glenn Townsend second in the Lotus, Craig Burgess currently third in the Janetta, which is making its first run in the Wakefield 300.
Doesn't it stand out as the BMWs try and find a little bit of real estate down the front straight. The Sharon name is one that we've seen oh so often in Australian road racing, also in events like Am Champs and the sort, but Cansian's opened up a very nice lead at the moment. And look at that, he's absolutely moving away with that lead, and he needs to build as big a gap as he can and hope that we don't get too many safety cars, because he needs to be in the pits for much, much longer than a lot of these cars that are chasing him down right now.
He has bolted at the front of the field, has Nick Cansian, but there's some good battles going on a bit further back in the pack. Here's a couple of Lotuses battling. Steve Shelley on board the black and white Deputy.com car, and Robert Hackwood in the blue CMR Well-Pro car. Hackwood actually went off the track in the top 10 shootout and had to start 10th, but he's already on the comeback trail, makes up 2 positions at turn 10.
I think it was the Herring car that we saw run wide in the background and flick up some dust, but manages to keep it pointing in the right direction. Definitely the open roof categories, or the open roof cars, would be quite glad to have the sunshine. We have had some dodgy weather for this race in the past, but beautiful conditions right now. And there is one of the future buses which we were talking about earlier. And we go on board now with the Thompson and Jess car that won the final round of the Endurance Championship last year, the Winton 300. What a thriller it was. Started back in 9th, running in this second division, so only has to come down the pit lane once, trying to pick up as many positions as possible early on.
And Matthew Thompson behind the wheel of that car at the moment, and up behind the car that they overtook for the lead on the last lap of Winton. As a bit further up the order, Craig Burgess is starting to get impatient behind the car of Glenn Townsend, because he can see the race leader Nick Cansian disappearing further and further up the road, so he doesn't want to be held up by Townsend for too much longer, as the recovering Robert Hackwood makes up another spot down the inside of David Radatz at turn 10.
Oh, man, have a look at just how much speed is lacking coming onto the front straight.
I think it's more a case of just how much power that Lotus puts out, and with the supercharged engine and being such a light car, the power to weight ratio gives it amazing acceleration out of the slower corners, Chad.
It was quite visible then. I mean, it was behind the Mazda coming into the corner had pretty much the length of the front straight by about 500 metres time. There is the Sharon Rentals BMW. That had a torrid affair at the last round. Now the battle for second has definitely come to life and makes that move stick, and the Janetta moves into second place.
Craig Burgess managed to get the move done heading down the hill, and a lock-up from Glenn Townsend into the fishhook. That gives Sharon the incentive to look down the inside, but Robert Hackwood, how fast is that Lotus? He rounds up Sharon on the outside through the fishhook.
Well, he'll be pushing his way onto a podium spot before too long. He might try and make that move stick down the bottom of the hill. It's not going to work there. Sharon's driving defensive right now because he has the Radats and Otten Mazda all over the back of him right now, and the move for third is on.
David Radats and Shane Otten, of course, led for a lot of the Winton 300 at the end of the last year before they were cruelly robbed in the very closing stages of the race with the mechanical black flag, and they're one of the teams that have been looking to make amends this weekend. They're currently the best of the runners in Division 2, so the best of the cars that only has to make the single pit stop as we take a look at a replay of the race start.
It was pretty clean. I mean, no one was going to get near Cansian for the opening stanza, given how simply stunning he was in qualifying, taking the Super Shock pole position award. Opened up a very nice lead at the moment. I was looking back from the start of the race with the pole sitter. Did put a foot wrong in the opening few laps.
And this is the other replay of the Todd and Richard Herring car running wide coming out of turn number 9. And lost a couple of positions with other cars taking the opportunity to get down the inside. Easy to do there. It's quite a sharp corner, but it's one that you're accelerating all the way through.
Especially before tyre temperatures and pressures have come up to a premium early on in the race. So easy to make those kind of mistakes.
Benny Tran and Victor Vo in the Honda Civic. Very potent Honda Civic, it must be said. Benny Tran, a driver with a lot of experience in time attack competition, but making the transition into endurance racing where the mentality's completely different.
And here's a great example of the kind of variety that we have here within the Australian Endurance Championship. About 4 or 5 manufacturers as off goes Nightingale at a great rate. What happened? There had to be some kind of failure down at the fishhook.
My goodness gracious me, that was a huge off for the colder refrigeration Mazda MX-5. It just never looks like slowing down anywhere near enough to make that corner.
Steering or braking, the question will have to be asked, but something definitely failed for Terry Nightingale, the winner of the B-Main from the Winton 300. Looks to be out of this race at the moment. He was definitely pulled over, and now we've got someone else slowing as well.
That's the second of the Sharon Rentals BMW 135Is. Michael Sharon and David Ayres sharing that particular entry, and that car stopped on the approach to turn number 3. As we go on board with Dylan and Dave Thomas, the father and son combination in the CXC Global Racing Mitsubishi Evo 10, engaged in a fierce battle with Daniel Deckers and Luke Otten in the Deckspeed Racing Mazda MX-5.
The MX-5 is so much better in the mid part of the corner, but the Lancer can use its power at corner exit, and this might be a chance to show that. Mazda's so quick through the mid part of the corner, but the Lancer should be able to make up some of that gap, if not the entire gap in a straight line. The Mazda wants to go defensive in the approach at turn 1, and the Lancer just cruises by on the outside.
The acceleration from the turbocharged engine and the all-wheel drive traction gives that car great punch out of the corners as we see that Terry Nightingale is out of the car. That is his day done. And we've got the John Prefontaine Robert Hackwood car, which was on a charge in the early laps, in the garage. So an early setback for one of the teams that was looking to fight it out right at the front of the field.
That is very disappointing given the early lap speed from that car. And we have got the safety car here out onto the racetrack for the first time at the Valvoline Wakefield 300, and indeed the first time for the Australian Endurance Championship in 2015. And that would be the reason why, with the second of the Sharon Rentals Beamers pulled over. Let's go and find out what happened here for Nightingale. Have a listen. Oh, man. That went off at such a rate. You have to say, Lockie, it's almost as if there was no brakes at all. There was no tyre squealing. There was no lockups.
And the next car in front of Terry was his girlfriend, Linda Devlin, in the Mini, so just as well those two cars didn't make contact.
So the safety car is out here at the Valvoline Wakefield 300. A short break. We'll pick it up very shortly. Welcome back to Wakefield Park. It's the Valvoline Wakefield 300. for 2015. We're behind the safety car, the first safety car of the day, but looks like we're ready to get the green flag back out after the BMW was stopped on the racetrack. And also Terry Nightingale, who had the issues earlier. We believe it was brake failure. We might be able to find out right now. He's with Andrew Rolls.
Terry Nightingale, an eventful start to the A-Main Wakefield 300. What happened?
Yeah, it looks like we've just lost all the brakes coming into the fish hook. We, we're having a great little battle with Linda Devlin and a couple of the other guys back there as well, and we're looking pretty good. But yeah, Rob's put all the preparation in the car, and just such a silly little thing goes wrong. And I thought the moment I had a Bathurst in the V8 Utes is scary, but I've never had a brake pedal go before, and that got the heart grade going a bit. So. It's a shame the finish of that for the colder refrigeration MX-5. We were looking pretty good for a good division result, but it's luck of the draw, Rosie. You can't win them all, can you?
Well, a fairly dejected, but still philosophical Terry Nightingale down there in the pits with Andrew Rolls. We're riding on board with one of those future buses, the Thompson and Jess car, which is picking up a few spots.
Yeah, this safety car has really compressed the field in an interesting phase of the race now, while some of the faster cars have to work their way through some of the slower traffics that had been lapped just before that safety car intervention, and it's reinvigorated the battle for the lead and the battle for placings within each division as well. Nick Martinenko and Matilda Ravitch very, very tightly squeezing across the front of the Ed Kramer and Martin Dursman Mitsubishi Evo, and I think there might have even been a bit of a touch between those two cars at turn 2 as the Kramer and Dursman car now does get the better run out of turn 2 up the hill.
They're trying to give each other some room coming onto the front straight. It was always going to get close down at turn 1. Sometimes you try and give each other space, but turn 1 being as tight as it is, or not so much tight, but just narrow, I suppose would be the word. It's not too surprising when you see people tripping over each other in that part of the racetrack. This is up towards the lead bunch right now, inside the top 5.
So Cansian continues to lead, Burgess second.
Oh, that's brave.
Radats up the inside of Shelley. They're the two cars battling for the lead in Division 2. So the first two of the cars that only have the single pit stop to make. Drag race between the two cars down the main straightaway. Very, very close between the two of them. Shelley turns across. Radats under brakes. Back up the inside and bump between the two cars. And Radats will take the spot. And the man who might be able to capitalise on this will be Matthew Thompson in the Future Racer. Up the hill they head into turn number 3. Shelley, though, able to keep the door closed.
I don't think Shelley was quite expecting Radats to push that wide down there at turn 2. He just struggled to get the Mazda stopped. This is what it looked like from on board the Matt Thompson Future Busser. Let's just ride on board, listen to him cut these gears. The battle is up ahead. Gee, they were close through turn 1, and this is where it all nearly came together.
There definitely was a touch between the two cars as Townsend now recaptures second position into turn 2, away from Craig Burgess in the Ginetta, but runs wide on the exit. And the Ginetta with the 6-cylinder Mazda engine under the bonnet will have the horsepower advantage, but the Lotus will have the braking advantage into turn 3. They're still side by side as they head over the top of the circuit.
Great racing for second position. It is a different engine combination to what we see some of the Ginettas running in, say, the Australian GT Championship. Those cars essentially running old A1 Grand Prix motors under the hood, but still a very cool looking race car, the Ginetta, and the battle further back in the pack is just as frantic too.
The second of the CXC Global Mitsubishi Evos engaged in a battle there, as we see that the Robert Coulthard, Steve Hodges HSV Club Sport is in for an early pit stop, one of the cars that we see running in the New South Wales Production Touring Car Championship. And a massive brake lock-up from Dave Thomas into turn 2. We're hearing that that car might have an ABS braking problem, which would explain why he's locking it up. And that'll be massive flat spots on those front tyres now, you would imagine.
It's also understeering terribly with those lock-ups. And he might just fall victim to his teammate here.
Yep, so Gavin Hollands now right on the tail of, I suppose you'd call it notionally the lead CXC Global Mitsubishi Evo 10, but one of the things we do see with the Evos around Wakefield Park is they can be quite hard on their front tyres, particularly in warm conditions. And it seems like Dave Thomas is struggling with a handling imbalance in that car at the moment.
That was strange because he ran wide at the exit of the corner. You'd expect if he was having ABS issues to be running off almost at the beginning or mid part of the corner, but look at that, it's the exit, which is quite unusual. Almost as he tried to feed the power back on. Maybe those front tyres are suffering.
The husband and wife team of Nick Martinenko and Matilda Ravicic in the pits at the moment as well. Everybody has to do a compulsory 5-minute pit stop for refueling. Of course, the Division 1 cars have to do 2 5-minute pit stops, but it is a timed stop for safety reasons because a lot of the cars don't have dry brake refueling systems.
Oh, here's the traffic right now for the third place Ginetta, and the battle could be on here. The Sherrans might just sniff out third position if they're quicker through the traffic. Gee, it's tight. Tick them off as you can. And if anything, this might just help him out while the Sherrans struggle to find their way through. Raditz, who we know is very aggressive when it comes to passing cars in his MX-5, is also trying to get through the same kind of traffic at the moment. But let's go back down to the pits and find out what's going on with Russell Winterbank, who's down there with Andrew Rawls.
Russell, a lot of controversy surrounding fuel for coming out of your car. You just came in. What did the scrutineers say?
The scrutineers were just checking an overfill of fuel that was coming out. They wanted to double check it. The scrutineers are quite happy with the result, and they've let him go back out again. We've probably lost about 2 laps, but we're sitting at about 10th, so we're okay. We just need to keep it going, keep a consistent time, and just keep an eye on the rest of it. Our fuel's our biggest issue this weekend, but hopefully we should be right after the first stop.
Fuel always a safety concern, isn't it? And, you know, important to make sure you don't have any fuel leaking out onto the racetrack. So good job from the officials to make sure that any issue with that Martinenko and the Ravicic car was addressed.
Riding back on board the future booster of Matt Thompson, who'll be coming in shortly to hand this car over to Nathan Jess.
Oh no, that's the other future racer. The Team Supreme entry of Chad Cotton and Jace Collins stopped on the main straightaway. That car was running inside the top 10, and it looks like a number of teams might be preempting the safety car and coming in to get one of their compulsory pit stops out of the way.
Well, that is quite clever for the race leader. And as a result, the safety car does come out, so they've picked that nicely. They will give away the race lead, but your best bet is to try and get that stop done before the safety car does in fact come out. And it is the best time to be spent in the pits when the rest of the field is going nice and slow. It's not going to hurt you taking the 5-minute stop, but everyone else is also taking the same ploy. Here's the Ginetta.
Yeah, so a lot of the Division 1 cars will take this opportunity to execute one of their 5-minute pit stops, whereas for the Division 2 cars, probably still a bit early at this stage for them to do their one and only pit stop because there are minimum and maximum driving distances to be taken into consideration. So Nick Cansian hands over to his father, Malcolm Cansian, who's having his first run in the Australian Endurance Championship. Craig Burgess is out of the Ginetta, and he's with Andrew Rawls.
Craig, pretty early pit stop. Was that scheduled?
Yeah, being Division 1 and we have 2 mandatory pit stops, the idea was to get one out of the way early. The Ginetta's got a good tank system, doesn't burn a lot of fuel, so you know we can run home if we have to. So we just wanted to wash our pit stop off.
Pretty good spot at the front end of the grid there. How was the start?
Start was good. It was nice and clean. Everybody respected one another's place on the track, so no, very happy with that. It's getting hotter out there, tyres are going off, and you know the temperature must be about 45 in the car, so I'm struggling with that, but we'll get through it.
And the Ginetta looks to be pretty slow actually coming up to speed after that pit stop. Further back in this pack, but man, it's absolutely on at the front.
Yes, now the interesting thing here is that Glenn Townsend leads the race in a Division 1 car. Steve Shelley in a Division 2 car is now in second position outright. And those cars seem fairly evenly matched in pace. So when you consider that Glenn Townsend has to stop twice, Steve Shelley only has to stop once, then the Steve and Jake Shelley car is in a much stronger strategic position, but there'll still be a lot of cars that will take the fight up to them, including this one. David Raddatz and Shane Otten, winners of the Valvoline Wakefield 300 back in 2010, and always outright contenders in this race.
Going up the inside of the Draper and Devlin Mini, which currently has Linda Devlin at the wheel. And to her right is another one of these MX-5s, very popular choice. but hasn't quite got the straight line power that you need at Wakefield Park. Riding again with the future busser of Matt Thompson. Soon to be handing this over to Nathan Jess. We're not quite seeing these future bussers, Lockie, at the front of the field like we did at Winton. Presumably so, because this track's a little bit more flowing, a bit faster than Winton.
That's true. Where the future racers do come into their own is on the circuits that have got slower corners, because their nimble handling means they can carry a lot of mid-corner speed. On the faster tracks, their short wheelbase makes them a little bit more twitchy to drive, and that's the reason they're not quite as fast or competitive here at Wakefield Park.
And it's a Hayabusa motor, so you're talking 1300 cc's right from the get-go. Motorcycle gearbox as well in those cars, and this battle for the lead right now is a good one. Oh, massive push in the mid-corner though for the Shelleys. We're going to be careful about how they approach this battle.
They don't need to race too hard or too aggressively for position because of the difference between the strategies, but gee, I wonder if Steve Shelley knows that, because he's probing left and right for an overtaking opportunity.
I guess a huge amount of this would also be the hunger from 12 months ago, from such a commanding position to have the wheel fall off, to lose the race. They were multiple laps up, and he probably just wants to get some clean air more than anything right now, despite the fact that they're not really, I mean, they are racing for position, but they're on very different strategies in terms of how this race will pan out. There's the mid part of the corner where Shelley really struggled to get that Lotus turned in.
Let's not forget too that Steve Shelley's going to hand over to his son Jake Shelley, who's a two-time winner of the Wakefield 300 in a Mitsubishi Evo in 2012 and 2013. So he certainly knows how to win this race. As we take a look back a bit further in the field, the Terry Denovan Jeff Stockley Commodore just being lapped by a couple of BMWs, the Queensland entry of Callum Ballinger and Neil Dietrich, and also the Sherrans, who were one of the cars that came in under that first safety car to execute one of their pit stops.
Still the battle for the lead rages on. That's a very aggressive move up the inside, and he makes it stick. So the Shelleys get to the front, but it's not over just yet. This is unbelievable racing for the lead, especially given these guys are on different strategies throughout the rest of this race. But I guess they just really were thinking about opening up a gap on everyone else that's in Division 2 around them.
So Steve Shelley now leads. Glenn Townsend back to second. We've got another one of the Lotuses off the road. That's the Peter Lucas Angela Corradine car, spinning out of turn 5 at the top of the hill.
Dangerous spot to be facing the wrong way, just outside the exit curb. Let's see how this move for the lead went down once again. Commitment is the key down there at turn 1. If you kind of go in half asking the question, you can have a massive shunt. And did get the job done. And sanity prevailed, I guess you could say, in not trying to argue the point much further there.
And he was left just enough room by Glenn Townsend through turn number 1. As we go back on board with the CXC Global Mitsubishi Evo, Dave Thomas still driving that car. He slips back into 14th position, and another spin for the 186 car of Lucas and Corradine, this time at turn 10.
The back end got away from it very, very quickly. This thing has to have an issue surely right now. Although the lap times wouldn't suggest that. That thing's turning some very fast lap times, a little bit too fast for its own good. Explain what we mean about that very shortly, because in comes Thompson and Jess. And will this be for a driver change? You can expect that this will be the time that Nathan Jess hops in.
It's been a good solid stint from Matthew Thompson behind the wheel of that car. He's kept it there or thereabouts in the top 5, and we know that Nathan Jess is going to be fast when he gets in, so that car you would have to say is definitely emerging as a podium contender. We've got the David Radatz and Shane Otten car in as well. The car stops. That's Daniel Reynolds and Matt Stubbs stopped on the inside of the circuit at the fishhook there, so problems for that Mazda MX-5. David Radatz is out of the car after his opening stint. He'll hand over to Shane Otten, but he's down in the pits with Andrew Rawls.
It's not looking good for you there. What seems to be the problem?
We just snapped the lower control arm off.
You seem to have been involved in a collision. What happened?
That was just a little mini, didn't get out of the way. There was a whole bunch, and I was zigging and zagging everywhere and just touched one, but that's not the problem. It's just fatigue, the lower suspension arm, and snapped it in half.
How and when did that happen?
It just happened on our last lap out there then. It just fatigued and snapped straight off at the ball joint, so that's it, that's racing.
Wow, one of our outright contenders out of the race due to what appeared to be a fairly innocuous bump with another car, but it's weakened a critical part of the suspension, and they're now out of the race.
Yeah, and just after the third distance or third part of this race, so that is very, very disappointing for Raditz and Otten, especially more so for Otten, who didn't have a drive, and massive off through the gravel trap. And gathering it back up, although slowly but surely getting their way back onto the front straight. That was an absolutely huge moment for the easy profile Kansian car. What happened there?
Malcolm Kansian at the wheel of that car at the moment, as we have a look at another replay of the spin for the Corradine and Lucas car out of turn 10, but Malcolm Kansian must have just outbraked himself into turn number 10 and gone spearing off. Very lucky not to get beached in the gravel trap. He was able to gas it up and rejoin the circuit at the top of the main straight.
Well, that was the order of the day, wasn't it? Just keep your right foot firmly planted, and the pole sitter was off. Meanwhile, back in the pits, and a driver change between the Thomas family.
And unsurprisingly, a tyre change taking place with that car as well. They want to remove those flat-spotted front tyres and put some fresh ones on for Dylan Thomas, who we know is a very accomplished driver at Wakefield Park. Oh my goodness me! A huge failure in the front left-hand side of the Kansian Mazda MX-5. It looks like one of the uprights has collapsed completely in that car, and that'll be limping into pits and into retirement.
No, you just wonder if it's either, there goes the tyre altogether. Nasty, nasty. Watching that roll away towards the tyre wall. And I just wonder if it's even worth trying to get this thing back to the pits in the state that it's in right now. It might just be better to pull it over, but that is very disappointing. So the pole sitter is out. Let's go back down to the pits to find out what's the latest with Glenn Townsend.
I'm with Glenn Townsend, and Glenn, how was it?
It was very hot work. You might have seen I dropped back a few times. I was struggling to get a drink straw in my mouth. It was very hot, and then when I did get it, it was like a cup of tea. It didn't work this time. It worked perfectly at Winton, not this time.
Plenty of lead changes out there in the first half of the race. Exciting stuff.
Really hard work. Yeah, there's a lot of cars doing very similar lap times. Division 1, Division 2 are not that much different, so it's hard work.
Oh dear, this is hard to watch.
Well, the Wakefield 300's never been won from pole position, Chad, and it looks like the curse of pole position has struck once again, because the Nick and Malcolm Kansian car is heading into the garage, and that is their day done.
Quick ad break for us. Back with more. Well and truly into the back half, the first round of the Australian Endurance Championship, the 2015 Valvoline Wakefield 300. It is a Lotus that is at the front of the field at the moment, and looking very pretty indeed, Lockie.
Indeed it is. In fact, a couple of Lotuses still fighting it out up at the pointy end of the field. The number 73, Glenn Townsend, Anthony Sulcar running very strongly, but being a Division 1 car, it will have to stop again. That'll be the disadvantage for that car. The Steve and Jake Shelley car is very nicely positioned strategically, and so too the number 23 Massel Racing Mazda RX-7 of Michael Kane and Jerry Murphy, which we saw running so strongly at the Valvoline Winton 300 in 2014.
Well, down past the front straight they howl. The pole sitter very disappointed to be back in the pits right now. Let's find out what happened to the Kansians.
Nick, you're missing a wheel.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to it. Went out there. Yeah, we've been having brake problems. We put new hubs on and everything, and yeah, this is a new one. And if you have a look at the front, there's nothing there. No wheel, no brakes, gone. Out in the track.
Disappointing way to end the race for you?
Oh, definitely. Like, you know, we prepared it. We put new hubs on, new brakes, new tyres. Did everything we could. And yeah, you can't help this. These things happen.
Yeah, that is just so heartbreaking given their earlier speed, but it would have been very difficult for them to win it with the extra pit stop anyway.
It would have today, especially with the lack of safety cars within the pit window. What we saw at the Winton 300 last year, where a Division 1 car did win, was that they were able to do their compulsory pit stops under safety cars, and that helps them, as we see that the wheel went flying off into the infield at turn number 6, and not really any way back into the race for the Kansian team after that one.
Now we've got more problems out there in the racetrack right now.
That's the Nick Martinenko and Matilda Mravicic car again. So they've had a couple of dramas. They had that earlier unscheduled pit stop with the fuel issue, and now seemingly some more mechanical issues that are going to cause that car to grind to a halt.
Oh, and is it far enough off the racing line or to the inside of the racetrack where we might need our third safety car of the day? That will definitely play into a few strategies right now. And there you go. So the field will be paced for the third time behind the safety car. And it's come out in front of the future Bussa, which is causing a little bit of confusion at the moment. But either way, we have one MX-5 pulled over, and let's find out what the latest is with the RX-7 that's emerging with speed.
I'm with Jerry Murphy, car number 23. Jerry, everyone's out to catch the leader at the moment. How far behind are you? How long left to go?
We're about 9 seconds just behind Jake. So Jake's done a great job considering they're a two-stop car. But mate, it was on for sure. They were trading fastest lap times.
When and where did you do your pit stop?
I did 70 laps, I think, and it was it was a green stop lap. Yeah, green stop lap. But it was good. The guys did a great job. This is a fantastic team. And this old girl's, she's an old car, but keeps on punching the numbers.
So set for a restart in the Valvoline Wakefield 300. The final sprint to the checkered flag is on, and Jake Shelley leads the way. Michael Caine is second. The disadvantage for Caine, of course, is that he's going to have a lot of lapped traffic to work his way through if he wants to take the fight up to Shelley in this final stint.
So away we go. Oh, and the Sherrans, they're going to be trying to push their way through some of this traffic, if not aggressively. The time for being patient is long gone.
The Sherrans have actually emerged as the best of the Division 1 cars, so they are a few laps down and they're not in outright contention, but they are the best of the cars that have been required to make the extra compulsory pit stop.
So definitely still a lot to play for them, and maybe a chance to even unlap themselves or get one lap back at least, but I don't know if they're going to get ahead of the Shelley Lotus right now. It's looking very fast at the front of the field.
We also should mention the progress of Mark Mackay and Justin Rougier, the defending Australian endurance champions. They had to start 36th on the grid after problems with their Mazda MX-5 in qualifying, but they've stormed their way up into 14th position, and they're looking good to pick up $500 cash for the Aussie High Hard Charge reward.
And again, we're seeing problems for the number 98 MX-5. So they've pulled over once again. That's the Martinenko and Mravicic car.
And at this stage of the race, Chad, it's really all about just making sure the machinery goes the distance. A lot of the cars will be pretty hot and with mechanical components that are quite fatigued at this late stage, so it's all about just nursing the car home and making sure that it goes the distance.
So let's try and break this down. This lead pack right now, Lockie, we're obviously looking at the race leader, which is the Shelley Lotus, but further back from there, let's try and figure out who's in what class and who's what lap down right now.
So the Sherrod car is second on the racetrack, a bit further down outright, but first in Division 1, and the number 37 Mini of Henry Draper and Linda Devlin, which is just at the back of the shot there. They're just outside the top 10 outright, but they're the best placed of the Division 3 cars at this stage.
Back onto the front straight we turn. And for the Shelleys right now, it's just about bringing this thing home. They are in the perfect position. They've achieved everything that they need to.
And Jake Shelley, a two-time winner of the Wakefield 300. Nobody's ever won this race 3 times, so if he can bring it home in this last stint, he will become the most successful driver in Wakefield 300 history.
If anything, that safety car has kind of helped him out a little bit. I know it's bunched the field up, but at the same time, it's also taken care of a lot of the traffic that would have been ahead of him. Further back, we've got some warring BMWs.
Silver number 25 car of Brian Anderson and Michael Cruz. They've done a good job, up into 8th position outright. They were in the top 5 at the Wakefield 300 last year, so that's a team that always does perform very consistently in these Australian Endurance Championship races. Ed Kramer and Martin Dersman are up into the top 10 in their Mitsubishi Evo, and the Daniel Byron Gavin Holland car, the second of these CXC cars, running pretty strongly just outside the top 5 as well.
Now that was the property investment store Lotus of Sewell and Townsend just unlapping itself there. So it's not a change for position. The leader's still looking pretty, but with the extra pit stop that they've had to make, it has seen them drop back down through the pack. Meanwhile, down in the pits, we're going to catch up with the other half of the Shelleys that's not racing.
Steve, things are looking pretty good with under 20 laps to go.
I'm not sure whether I want to talk to you, Andrew. Every time I talk to you, the wheels literally fall off. So, look, we're in the lead. We're 25 seconds ahead with 14 laps to go.
When and where did you do your pit stop?
I think it was around lap 90 or thereabouts. I actually haven't checked that. But we actually had a tail light go, our brake lights go, so we had to come in and fix that. So it was unexpected.
He's driving well out there. Are you feeling confident?
Yeah, I'm feeling really confident. Jake's doing really well. He's sitting on similar times as I was, so the car's really handling nicely, and we're just really enjoying it. It's a great day.
And the news for the Shelleys just got a little bit better because the car that was running in second position of Michael Caine and Jerry Murphy has just had an almighty off-track excursion at turn 2.
I thought I saw that in the background, actually, with the dust getting kicked up. And that is heartbreaking. They were second at the last round of the championship last year, and they were looking to at least be second this year in the first round, but that has cost them a little bit. Hard to see exactly how that's going to play out in the grand scheme of things. There's the moment again. Wow, that was a rallycross-esque move across the gravel. Just kept it out of the tyre wall. But because he had his foot firmly planted so he didn't get bogged, he ended up spinning it around as well.
Actually a pretty good effort there from Michael Caine because he made sure that he didn't get stuck in the gravel trap, but he didn't make contact with the wall either.
Further back, there is our Division 3 leader.
And also the future race there, Nathan Jess on board that car, which is now up into second outright, courtesy of that mistake for Michael Caine. So this is the car that won the Winton 300 last year, and once again it's popped up at the pointy end of the field here at Wakefield.
You know it's a small car when it makes a Mini look big.
Yeah, that's certainly true, but I'll tell you what, Chad, the diminutive size of that car is definitely an advantage in Nathan Jess being able to work through the traffic.
Especially in that part of the track right there, through the fishhook, the tight, twisty parts of this Wakefield circuit, it helps. Definitely around Winton where it was victorious. And just trying to look further back to see where the RX-7 might be placed. It's going to be a tough battle to try and pick off second after the massive off. So not too long left in round 1 of the Australian Endurance Championship. It is the Valvoline Wakefield 300. The news here, the pole sitters have struck trouble once again. The Kantians, they lost the left front at about the midpoint through this race. Their left front wheel fell completely off the race car, and they have been unfortunately out of the race ever since. And now we've got another one of our Lotuses slowing.
The Anthony Saul Glenn Townsend car, which was running first in Division 1. They had overtaken the Sherrod car for the lead in Division 1, but clearly with some late race problems.
And that is disappointing, and also quite close to the racing line at the moment through turns 5 and 6. We'll be very careful about that, but that is very disappointing for a car that was at one stage leading this race outright.
For Jake Shelley, it's now just a case of working his way through the traffic, being probably patient more than anything. He has enough of a margin now over his pursuers that he doesn't have to make any aggressive or forceful moves, and definitely can't afford any unnecessary contact at this late stage of the race.
He's worked his way past the Hume Smash Repairs MX-5. That was obviously not the position, just the leader working his way patiently through traffic. And as all this goes on, let's go and hear from a man who's currently going to be stepping onto the podium here at the Wakefield 300.
Tail end of the race, Nathan Jess out there doing his best. How's it set up for you guys?
Yeah, we're looking all right. I think if we can bring it home third, we'll be happy. We're struggling with brakes since about lap 50. It's gone to the floor, the pedal. So if we can get it home, we'll be happy with it.
How was your stint out there? When did you change over?
Yeah, a fair bit. I think I've done about 85 odd laps. And then we end up with a stop-go in the middle of it for passing under a yellow, which I don't believe we did, but the rule's a rule, and that's what happened.
So no dream Winton finish again for you here?
I don't think so. I think we're too far behind. At least they fall off. That's about it.
And what's it like out there, this stage of the race with no brakes?
Oh, look, it'll be a challenge for him. So we're a fair bit slower than we should be, but he'll bring it home. No, forget it home.
Quite an interesting point that he brings up there with those brakes. I guess, Lockie, that's where having a high revving 1300cc engine with a motorcycle gearbox would be quite handy. And there is that massive drama, and that could have been a massive moment too on the last corner.
On board with Daniel Deckers, and it looks like it was, Dory Sard in the BMW M3 getting into the right rear quarter panel of Terry Denovan and spinning him around at turn 10. We noticed as well that the car of Nathan Jess and Matthew Thompson, probably as a result of those brake dramas, is now back to third position behind Michael Caine and Jerry Murphy.
So disappointing. They definitely had the speed to compete for maybe second. I don't think they had quite what it takes to go challenging the Shelleys for the outright win here today. But definitely had the speed to maybe have finished second and get even more points for their championship hopes in 2015. The brake issues, which they've been affected by for over 50 laps right now. They're doing a good job if they can bring it home with the podium with those brake issues.
On to the 137th and final lap of the Valvoline Wakefield 300. And Jake Shelley is less than 2.2 kilometres now from becoming the most successful driver in Wakefield 300 history. He'll take his third win in this race, which is one more than anybody else has achieved.
And to be fair, Lockie, I mean, this is a win which they deserved to have taken last year. They obviously didn't get it when the wheel fell off. They were, 2 or 3 laps up, I think, at that time. And given they've just absolutely smashed the field from the second half of this race onwards, given that they only had to stop once, definitely a deserving win at the moment. We've only got 3 cars on the lead lap. They will be the 3 cars that will finish on the podium. Not long now for your leading Lotus coming down to the last corner.
Their strategy's been spot on. Their driving has been consistent and exemplary. And Steve and Jake Shelley, what a performance from the Deputy.com team in the Lotus Sport Elise. They are going to win the 2015 Valvoline Wakefield 300.
Fantastic drive. And Jake Shelley did a great job bringing that car home at the end. His dad set it up nicely. He knocked him down at the end. And there is second place home now. It's the Mazda RX-7 of Michael Caine and Jerry Murphy. Despite their massive off down there at turn 2, they've brought it back for a podium. And the future Bussa of Nathan Jess and Matt Thompson will be home for third. A very exciting race. Ballinger and Deidre will just miss out on a podium with the BMW. And definitely a lot of heartbreaking stories as well to cover.
But a lot of positive stories as well. Mark McKay and Justin Rougier, they do secure the Hard Charger Award with 14th position in the race as well.
Let's catch up with our winners.
Steve Shelley, congratulations, 2015 Wakefield 300 winner. You're grinning from ear to ear.
Yeah, I'm so happy, Andrew. I'm so happy. This is the first time we've won together. Jake's won twice before here, and I was away overseas at the time, and here he comes now. And today, a father and son team, we brought it home. I'm so happy.
Well, we pan round and get the car coming in, Steve. I'll continue talking to you. What was the key to success today?
Oh, we just had a game plan where we're just going to make sure that we put our head down, do everything right, drive the car within our means, don't push it too hard. It's only a little lightweight car. We actually used our old tyres from Bathurst, so we didn't break out. So we brought along our oldest second-hand tyres we could, and we knew we had to push it quite hard to get to the 105, which is the breakout time, and it worked.
I'm feeling good. The car went absolutely perfect today, so credit to the team. Beautiful, beautiful car, and just a really good win. Just kept it on the track and played a good race, and it worked well for us.
And nice to finally win one with Steve.
Yeah, it's been such a relief. Like, we've been hunting for this win for a long time, and now we got it. I'm really happy.
And he set you up pretty well as well?
He did an incredible drive, and yeah, we can put the win to him, I think.
Time for the podium, a chance to spray the champagne and hand out some trophies. The Shelleys climb up, and Lockie, another fantastic running, the Valvoline Wakefield 300.
An all-around that's deserving podium, the top 3 cars all finishing on the lead lap, and the celebratory champagne spraying.
Looking forward to round 2. We will head up to Queensland Raceway, and then the third and final race of the championship will be back again around that very tight and twisty racetrack that we know and love as Winton. Thank you very much to Lockie. This has been round one of the Australian Endurance Championship, the Valvoline Wakefield 300. Congratulations to Steve and Jake Shelley in the Lotus. Off goes Nightingale at a great rate.
My goodness gracious me, that was a huge off. Oh my goodness me. A huge failure in the front left-hand side of the Cansian Mazda MX-5. It looks like one of the uprights is collapsed completely in that car. Steve and Jake Shelley, what a performance from the Deputy.com team in the Lotus Sport Elite. They are going to win the 2015 Valvoline Wakefield 300.